Hello there, my name is Ragnon. I'm a Holy Priest on the Area 52 server. I raid lead for our guild, Obsidian Calling. I just recently swapped to Night Fae, and I wanted to talk about why I think it's going to become the new meta for next month. That's going to be patched next month and become even stronger than it currently is, and already it's pretty awesome. So let's talk about Night Fae. Up to this point, I have swapped around between all of the different covenants. I started my first week as Kyrian, and then I quickly swapped to Necrolord because I wanted to focus in a little bit more on Holy, and then I realized that Venthyr was like necessary for disc and raids, so I did Venthyr, and I've been swapping back and forth ever since. So taking a look at Night Fae, let's look at the ability because I'm sure many of you are not familiar with it anymore. Let me pull it up here so you can see it a little bit in the center of the screen. So call forth 3 Fairy Guardians to attend your targets for 20 seconds. So essentially you pop it, and for 20 seconds you have 3 different effects that you can move around onto your targets. The Wrathful Fairy follows your Shadow Word Pain, and anytime you attack the target, it restores 0.5% mana. The Guardian Fairy is a damage reduction, an external damage reduction that follows your Power Word Shield. And the Benevolent Fairy is a 100% cooldown reduction that follows your Flash Heal. So this is super strong. Let me show you how it's applied real quick. If you cast it on an enemy, let's say that this little fairy here was an enemy. If I cast Fey Guardians on them, I believe the 2 helpful effects are put on me, and the 1 harmful effect is put on her. So then I would have the damage reduction, the cooldown reduction, and I would be able to start attacking her to get mana back. As a Shadow Priest, that's a really nice option because you have the damage reduction, your cooldown on your Void form is ticking, and you're getting Insanity. For Shadow, it restores 3 Insanity every time you attack, so pretty nice. In a tanking situation, or a healing situation, in Mythics and stuff, typically I'll cast it on either a DPS that I want to put the cooldown reduction to, and then I'll move the damage reduction component to the tank using a Power Word Shield, or vice versa. I'll use it on a tank and then move the cooldown reduction part to a DPS by casting a Flash Heal. So this has been around pretty much unchanged since launch, so let's talk about why it's so good now. I think it's always had potential, but it's been overlooked by Venthyr because Venthyr was needed in the early gearing stages to actually cap out your Spirit Shells as disc. Now that there's been nerf to Spirit Shell and people are capping it consistently and not necessarily needing mind games, that opens up this extra utility to recover. It really all boils down to the cooldown reduction. You figure a Fire Mage using Combustion, they're already using Alter Time, they're getting it up more frequently. The Benevolent Fairy, reducing that by an extra, I think it's 20 seconds, because it lasts for 20 seconds and it reduces the cooldown rate by 100%. So over those 20 seconds, they're recovering an extra 20 seconds. So it's essentially 20 seconds off anybody's main cooldown. That's huge. You figure that put on some key strategic DPS players throughout a raid, that really makes a difference. I've also been using it on our Demon Hunter tank, which reduces his metamorphosis, and so he's also our guild leader, so I've now quickly become his Night Fae Guardian bot. It's funny how quickly people have caught on to asking me for it. It's become just as requested as Power Infusion, so it feels good to have another supportive element like that. So that's really strong. And that's the biggest reason I think it's going to be so powerful. And next patch, I believe it's getting buffed. I know the damage reduction portion is at least being buffed. Speaking of the damage reduction portion, for Holy, it's really in high demand because if you look at the Holy kit, the biggest reason that Holy is kind of memed and looked down on for bigger keys and stuff like that for Mythics is because of the lack of an external damage reduction. The closest thing that you have is Guardian Spirit, and yes, Guardian Spirit's awesome, especially when you're running this talent, Guardian Angel, that reduces it to only a minute cooldown. If it doesn't prevent death, which is how you should be using it. You should be using it early to stabilize. not for the cheat death component. Yes, that's great for healing, but once you start getting into higher keys, if you don't have some kind of external damage reduction, you know, the tank's more and more at risk of being one-shot. So this is a welcome addition. 10% extra DR is really, really nice. And you can also, next patch, it's supposed to be getting buffed. I think it's 15%. As Holy, it works exceptionally well, this ability, because it's really easy to not have to move these effects once you've got them on the right targets. So, for example, if I cast it on myself, let's say that this is... are these training dummies out here? I don't know the Night Fae place yet. Yes. Okay, cool. So I am a... I'm going to be the DPS that I'm going to buff. This guy right here, Sinestria, is going to be the tank, and then this is going to be the person that I want to attack for mana. I'll just say right now, the attack for mana is kind of a sub portion of this. I don't really focus that. I usually mostly use this on cooldown for the DPS. I have a cooldown tracker here, so I use it on somebody who has a big cooldown up. And then the damage reduction portion is also really important. The mana one is just nice if I can also get it off. But so I'm going to cast it on myself, the DPS. I'm going to move the tank portion. It's right there to the tank, and I'm going to attack the training dummy. Now everything's set up as I want to, so for the next 8 seconds I can't use flash heal or shield or Shadow Word Pain. Holy has so much in their kit that you can not have to do that. If you're running the Harmonious Apparatus build, a lot of times you're doing like Circle of Healing into Prayer of Healing spam. You can just rely on your basic heals. You've got Prayer of Mending casts that you can do. Worst case scenario, if you do need to flash heal, you can just reapply it to your DPS. Your holy words, there's lots you can do. If you're running the Flash Concentration build, it's just as easy, because you only need to cast Flash Concentration once every 15 seconds. That's only once during the whole duration of Fey Guardians. Just cast Flash Heal on the DPS that you've got the cooldown reduction on. So for Holy, I think this is really strong. For Shadow, I think this is really strong as well. It's easy to not move them, and it reduces the cooldown on your Void form. And then finally for Disc, if it wasn't for the cooldown reduction portion of it, I think this would be really bad, honestly. The reason I feel like this is difficult for Disc, if you look at how you move them, okay, so your mana one is moved around with your Shadow Word Pain. You're constantly multi-dotting, so you're moving it around, so you have to waste an extra global or find the one that you actually put it on and then attack that target, so that's a little tricky. Your damage reduction follows your power word shield. Well, if you've got it put on your tank, let's say I'm putting it on my tank here, okay, and then I need to do the rest of the group, get atonements on the rest of the group, my only option now is power word radiance. If I want to shadow mend to get atonements on the rest of the group, I'm going to be moving around the damage reduction, or so the cooldown reduction spirit that I have on my DPS. If I use shields, I'm moving around the damage reduction. So you're either going to have to ignore one of the effects, or you're going to have to use powered radiance. Now in raids, it'll work just fine because you can just ignore either the damage reduction. You probably will ignore the damage reduction portion. You'll put the cooldown reduction using your flash heal on Fire Mage or something like that, and then you'll do your ramps using shields and radiance, or you'll just not overlap the two. Like, do your ramps, do your thing, and then in the downtime when you're waiting for Spirit Shell to come up, then use your Fake Guardians. That's probably better. So in Mythics, I can foresee it being a little bit of an issue. You just kind of have to pick which one you care about more. Do you care about the damage reduction? Probably not as much, because Disc has the best damage reduction cooldown in the game with Pain Suppression. So you're probably mostly using it for the cooldown reduction, and you can spread it with shields. At this point, I'm kind of rambling. I'm excited about it. I love it. Also, Soul Shape, side note, so welcome in the Holy Priest kit, because, man, it's, yeah, it's very needed. So, I'll clip this for YouTube. But just my thoughts on Night Fae, and I was thinking about it, and then I watched a video recently on the ranged meta. It was put up by Max from Limit Complexities, their raid leader, number one world first guild right now, and he was saying the same thing. So I really do think Night Phase is going to be stepping into its own for Priest next patch. All right, thanks for watching.